slow. Even those churches that they think are making money, it may not be. I know the expectations of government is to the extent. The government is cornered by debts, and as my brother Carlos was beginning to make his submissions, he said we feel betrayed by our leaders. I think there is also a book now in the offing which is like that, betrayed by my leader. In the luxurious and ostentatious spending, that is not objective for the the common Ugandan. So now, given that debt burden, I think we are 97 trillion debt, 52.8 external, 44 something point something internal, where government has borrowed from banks locally and also from external, and which has got a cost. We are paying interest, and sometimes some of these debts, it has been borrowed and it has not yet even been utilized, but we are busy servicing it. So much as I know now, with all of this operation coming from all sides, the government may want to expand the tax base, including the churches which have been sacred areas. Well, the church may be having finances, but it may not be all that luxurious that they can be able to, that the area you can get money from. But I think some of these things have also been brought about by our conduct. The way some of the men of God have acted, it has been painful, where we have been referred to as merchants of Christ. We are trading on the gospel, we are trading on miracles. And yet when you go to, even when the church was being founded in Acts of the Apostles, there were situations where people went running, wanting to sacrifice to those of Paul and say, these are gods. But they said, we are not, we are just human beings like you. And whoever wanted to act like a god was crushed. Like you remember the story of Herod in Acts chapter 12. So the lifestyle of some religious leaders that has attracted this kind of aggression to the extent of government thinking that they can tax it, but it will not be sustainable. It will not be sustainable. You may get it once and then it dwindles, because the church is people. The church is Christians. The church is people who come and pray in it, and if they are willing to offer to serve for God's work, they can. And if they see that the taxman has come, they can withhold. Because now they know they are taxed in fuel, they are taxed in what. They are now even what they are putting here to serve God's ministry is also being, they can withhold. And that tax cannot be sustained. But for example, Church of Uganda has businesses, and we have got under what we call church commissioners. This is the investment arm of the church. Even when it is being founded, it is founded as a corporate determined to make money, so susceptible to taxes. You can pay income tax, any tax, VAT, all of those. There's a business wing of the church. If you look at, for example, the church house, the occupants pay rent, so there is no way the church can say exempt as we are a church. But the exemption can be there maybe for the time when you are yet paying the loan. It can be, but when you stabilize now after servicing the facility that made that business, you are susceptible to pay tax like any other investment. But these other businesses, even of the church down here, like guest houses, they are almost operating like charities, because every day you have a meeting. The Carlos is come to conduct their meeting. I don't think, Carlos, you are paying for the hall, paying for the chairs. So it still continues to serve. They say that is our, Christians will even say, that is our hall, why should we pay? Their support, even from the church. Like Church of Uganda, we used to have a lot of friends in America and the UK. I was an accountant of the treasury in the province. In fact, even doing a bank reconciliation, you have to do bank reconciliation weekly. If you wait up to the end of the month, you may get confused. Because of things were coming, people were tithing from the States and the UK. They tithe. Some are even anonymous. But money is coming. They really supported God's work here. But once Archbishop Henry Luke Orombi refused to have Holy Communion with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams in Tanzania, in protest about their support for the consecration of a gay bishop in the US. I tell you, even if you did the bank reconciliation after 3 months, you can be smart. The money disappeared. Because they said, okay, you have the Jesus, for us we have the check. So you have your Jesus, for us we have our money. So since 2008, Church of Uganda, for example, has parted friendship with so many. You've seen all of those successive archbishops have walked out of Lambeth. Rombi walked out, the Archbishop Ntagali walked out. So that has not augured well with our friends in the US and the UK. So they are withdrawing of their help. Church of Uganda as an institution, it will not be new. Maybe Uganda as a country, maybe government will be suffering those shocks. But for us, we suffer. So no suspicion even can be that those people are now bringing money into the church. Now that they are not giving government, so the government wants to follow it and tax it. Nobody.
When you go to the hospital, I would wish that people go to the hospitals and get treatment, get drugs that they need. Somebody comes from my village in Pingire, goes to the hospital maybe almost dying. By the time you reach the hospital gate, you get a bit relieved that you are entering the place where you are going to be treated. But entering there, they diagnose and write for you a sheet that you go to the shop and look for drugs. You are coming from the hospital and you go to the shop. Can you imagine that? And now still you want to take taxes. Where? Where do you want to take the taxes? When it comes to taxing church, it depends on which church you are talking about. When you put this one to be a law,
it's a policy according to government.
About that government's crying. So maybe government's beginning like that, but leading somewhere. There's no cry in church that the church is crying. Members are crying that there's no transparency in church. Only that maybe government needs to be told or to be told how churches operate. Churches, sometimes it depends on the organization of the church. There are some small churches that run for years without getting that collection that you talk about accountability. They get a little that they get, maybe it goes to the fuel and microphone sales and some other things. So you can't even begin to tell them that make accountability. I don't understand this, and I don't understand why a government really is running for this. And then we as Christians pay taxes in different ways. All commodities we buy, we're also paying taxes, and we give government taxes. And then the little that we get to church, we think, or when we believe that we are taking that for God and to do God's work. And when government tries to come into that, we don't understand government in that way, because government will be now entering into something that it doesn't understand. Just government needs to come and try to ask us maybe to understand, just to understand, not just leading or ruling or setting things for church. I don't think government can manage that properly. No one is crying from the other side, but on the side of the government is crying. And there are laws in this country. If money is misused, I think there is a law that can get someone who is misusing money, who is getting money fraudulently, getting money from people by fraud. I think there are laws in this country that can get that person. Government shouldn't even be crying that there's no accountability. There's accountability in church, only that maybe the way the church does its accountability is the way that government doesn't know. We do our accountability in our own way. We do our accountability. So that's what I can say simply about
that money, a tithe, and then the offerings that we contribute every Sunday. But I want to get back to, I think, year 306 up to 337 AD, when the Emperor Constantine, he was a pagan. And during that time, there were taxes that were imposed on churches. But when he converted into Christianity, he abolished all those taxes. And that's why you see, you don't get any form of taxes in Rome, even other countries that were governed by the Roman Empire. The same thing applies to the United States. When you look at the United States, there is nothing like taxing churches. Complete not there. Even our neighbors, Kenya, I want you to go through them. Just like Reverend talked about, a church is an independent entity, is an NGO. But if there is an arm that makes money, that one we all agree that we pay money, we pay tax. And we have been doing that as a church. Now for you to come in and tax this tithe, I first want to bring my experience. You know, some of these people here who come up with these policies are people who don't go to church. These are people who stay in Kampala from morning up to sunset. They don't go to church. They don't even experience what happens in those churches. But I want to give my view because I move and I pray in different churches. Last month, I think I visited different churches. I visited the Catholics in Caselo. I went to PAG, I went to Heritage, Church of Uganda, and I prayed up to the end of the sermon. And I was trying to study and do my research how things are done in these churches, especially in regards to this contentious matter that will bring about the taxes, the tithes, and so on. In one church, and that is in Opala Catholic. When I prayed in that church, the total collection that were made in the church that day was only 15,000 shillings. Yeah, and they announced. And that's a form of accountability. Yeah.
Transparency.
And transparency. And that's the time when Father Paul had passed on. What is Father Paul? The one who buried murderer.
Is it Father Alex?
Father Alex. And I had also brought a bucket to support the funeral. And each church was requested to contribute only 30,000. But I was shocked when the basket moved. The total collection that was made in that church, Catholic church, and that is the Opala Catholic Church, was only 3,000 shillings. And now, the catechist was now almost at the end of the sermon. He said, now there is a balance of 27. And he ordered some of the Christians that after prayers, we need to move around home to collect the 27 now from people. So that's the level of poverty that our people are in. Even as government asking us to make a contribution. But I was ashamed. I told the catechist that no, let me cover up the 27. I want to rescue the other Christians that are not here, and let me contribute on their behalf. The same thing applies to St. Peter's. I prayed in St. Peter's several times. And I want to thank the church because offerings were these children's collections and all this. So I don't know which kind of accountability that government wants.
And at the end of the quarter, we do parish accountability.
Yes. So I don't know which kind of accountability.
How much came and how much was utilized on this and how much was submitted to the diocese.
Yeah. But I've also made observation that these collections have kept on dwindling. It's not like those days you do get a big amount, but every Sunday you see the amount keeps on dropping down, And you are giving your mother 100,000. Your mother should begin remitting tax on the 100,000 that you are giving her. Is it possible? It is not possible. That is double taxation. And I want the church to move slow on this. I know most of these people who are driving these things are heathens. They have a hidden agenda, probably to destroy our country, the Christian values that were put. So that now people fear to go to church, and then now these issues of homosexuality will come in, because now when people don't go to church, of course the devil comes and occupies their minds. So I want government to move slow on this move.
Lumami busak nara dola kepak. Kwana ngetengo enara madola kepak ayengo. So kwana giuna ichakachaki tunga tai. Kwa pe rebis kingo kulichak konyete rebis. Ulosine lemar la somana chuada neji a device asake. Kwa bijene jobe oke president mami device nga oda. So kwana lemar kwana chua neji ke tunga bichuri tingesi. Ja kwa nweli mwito singesi beye. Iteleme kanisa ikapun ajana da la subana le maracho ani jitungangu epon leli mutere kerono ya one sololo tomo kanisa auta ne pepe kere moyo la ronon moyo le koto amonare puga eto ma oko kwa jiboruni du chalimono ne ngapugan be mamji pedore jie na mamji pedore jie kere media mamji pedore jie kere kanisa be mamji pedore jie kere malimu ilu takino sejo itwanyare jara de raja puga so kwa netengo ne utaoka puga na lositi era kwa naoka puga na losa teleka nare poa ejiosi mwalimu ejiose kanisa ara bere kanisa bongesa sale titine keria na ekeria na rapugan bokwe ngara kesi ngoiti je corruption and in church dumunjilo siju dumunjo people preachers condemn corruption ponye do kwane isinyiko kwa na pugane corruption ngol ai todol do ai tolomone policy lelo shodo ngesi ai togogongore polo koko etunganan lo kwa tono kanisa ebuna pugana twaniar ejielo ikota ajenu mbone be bia ebo isome kanisa dobo bia isoma interface organizations lu inyeche jokere oko jana kana luka edeke be puiran ti wanyu timi jo kechejar iwanjo retungalu ijana kinare jas karamena na kaedeke konyora to baso mikapun mamene chamuni ichamuna lo sai jana kino tomo kanisa nare mametika pun